Good morning, students. Can you increase the solubility of a solid in liquid in a saturated solution by raising the temperature? Why the gas fizzes out when you open the seal of a soft drink bottle? What is the gas that is taken along with oxygen by sea divers? To answer these questions, we'll learn a topic called solubility. So today's topic is solubility. Today we are going to learn about the solubility of solids in liquid solvents. Take little amount of water and add sugar by stirring water. What happens? Sugar is dissolved. And if you continue to stir the solution by adding more amount of sugar, what happens? It goes on dissolving. And finally, a stage is reached where there is no more solute soluble. That stage is equilibrium state. Okay. Here, an equilibrium is set between dissolved salt and undissolved salt. Okay. So here two processes will be involved at this stage of dynamic equilibrium. One is dissolution, where the solid molecules enter into solution. That process is dissolution. And the opposite process, equal number of molecules from dissolved state will be crystallized. Okay. And this process is called as crystallization. So forward process is dissolution, the backward process is crystallization. So at equilibrium, rate of forward reaction is equal to rate of backward reaction, or rate of dissolution is equal to rate of crystallization. So at equilibrium, saturated solution is formed. In this solution, maximum amount of solute is present in dissolved state, and this amount of solute is known as solubility. Solubility is the maximum amount of solute that a given amount of solvent can hold at a given temperature in a saturated solution. So the maximum amount of solute present in 100 grams of solvent at a given temperature. Okay. So usually the amount of solvent is taken as 100 grams. Okay. So this is the maximum amount of solute. Okay. So that means it is the solute that is present in a saturated solution. Okay. Now we will see thermodynamic aspects of formation of solution. A solution is a homogeneous mixture which is formed by mixing solute and solvent. Okay. The formation of a solution involves three steps. One is breaking the attractive forces between solvent molecules. The second one is breaking the attractive forces between solute particles. Third one is formation of attractive forces between solvent and solute, resulting in the formation of a homogeneous mixture, right? So there are three steps like this. Okay, this is a solvent, let us say it is A, right? So there are attractive forces between solvent molecules. Okay, now to break the attractive forces, energy is required. Okay, so there is solvent molecules like this, and there is a irregular arrangement and weak attractive forces here. Okay, so for breaking these attractive forces, some energy is required. Okay, so that is delta H1. Okay, so this is the enthalpy change involved in breaking the attractive forces between solvent molecules here. Okay, in the second step, okay, solute particles break to form the loose particles like this. Okay, so here we are talking about the dissolution of solid in liquid. Okay, in solid there is orderly arrangement of particles like this. Okay, there are strong attractive forces. Okay, let us say this solute is B and the attractive forces between solute particles are BB, right? Okay, so for breaking attractive forces, some energy is required. Okay, so that is H2. Okay, so this is enthalpy change involved in the second step, right? Okay, now the particles are liberated like this from the solute. and the solvent molecules are also liberated like this in the first step, right? Now in the third step, what happens? These solute particles diffuse slowly into the solvent, resulting in the formation of a homogeneous mixture like this. Okay, so this is the third step, okay, where the attractive forces are developed between solvent A and a solute B, right? So here the attractive forces are AB, and the enthalpy change involved in this process is delta H3, right? So now what are the three steps? Breaking the attractive forces of solvent molecules. Second step, breaking the attractive forces between the solute particles. And in the third step, the attractive forces are developed between solvent and solute particles, resulting in the formation of homogeneous mixture that is known as solution, right? So how do you calculate enthalpy change here? Overall enthalpy change of solution can be given as delta H1 plus delta H2 plus delta H3, right? Okay, so here the first step involves the breaking of the attractive forces, so that is why it is positive, and the second step again involves the attractive forces, breaking the attractive forces of solute particles, so that is also positive, and third step involves formation of attractive forces. So what happens? Usually energy is liberated, so the enthalpy change in the third step is generally negative. Okay, so enthalpy change of solution may be positive or negative. If some of these two values is more positive, then the enthalpy of solution is positive, and if some of the enthalpy changes in the first two steps is less than the third step, then the formation of the solution, enthalpy change in the formation of a solution becomes negative. Okay, so formation of solution may be exothermic process or endothermic process, right? So for example, if you take the solutes like ammonium chloride and potassium nitrate, the formation of solution is endothermic. Okay, so that is energy is absorbed, and in the formation of solutions like sodium carbonate or lithium carbonate, okay, so energy is absorbed, so that means that is a negative enthalpy change. What is the condition for spontaneity of a reaction? Delta G negative or decrease in Gibbs energy, right? So the formation of solution may be exothermic or endothermic, but it can be spontaneous provided that delta G is negative, right? So if you consider the equation here, delta G is equal to delta H minus T delta S. Okay, delta S is positive. Okay, entropy change is positive because we are talking about the dissolution of solute, solid solute in a liquid solvent. Okay, so when solid enters into aqueous phase, what happens? Randomness increases or delta S becomes positive, right? Delta H may be positive or negative. Okay, let us consider delta H positive. If delta H is positive, still the reaction may be spontaneous. Okay, so when delta G becomes negative, okay, this is positive, this is also positive, right? So the difference must be negative. So when this difference becomes negative, when this term is less than this term, right? So if delta H is less than the product of T delta S, then what happens? Delta G becomes negative. In this case, the solute is soluble in solvent. Okay, so this value should be greater than this positive value. Okay, so here suppose if this product is less, then the reaction is non-spontaneous. Okay, because delta G becomes positive. Okay, so this term can be increased. The value of this term can be increased by raising the temperature, right? At high temperature, what happens? Delta H becomes less than T delta S, or delta G becomes negative, or the dissolution process occurs. So if the temperature is high, then delta G becomes negative, or the dissolution process occurs. And if temperature is low, then delta G becomes positive. In that case, the dissolution process will not take place. So if the solution, formation of solution is endothermic, then it occurs at high temperature, right? Okay, so if it is at low temperature, the process becomes non-spontaneous. Let us consider another scenario where delta H is negative. Okay, if delta H is negative, the negative value of delta H should be greater than positive value of T delta S. Negative value of this should be greater than positive value of T delta S. Okay, so this should be highly exothermic, and here this term should be less. Okay, this term should be decreased by changing the temperature. Okay, so delta S is fixed here, so temperature has to be decreased in order to keep this temperature, this term low, right? So at low temperature, then what happens? Delta G becomes negative. Okay, so if delta H is greater than T delta S, then delta G becomes negative, or at a low temperature, delta G becomes negative, or the reaction is favored, right? So in this kind of reactions where energy is released, that is exothermic reactions. If the formation of solution is exothermic, then temperature should be lowered so that delta G value becomes negative, or the reaction becomes spontaneous, right? To summarize, the endothermic reactions are favored at a high temperature, exothermic reactions are favored at a low temperature, right? Okay, now we'll see the factors influencing the dissolution of a solid in liquid. So there are various factors like nature of solvent and solute, temperature, pressure, concentration. Like this, we have different factors influencing solubility of a solid in liquid. Okay, let us see these factors in detail. First, nature of solute and solvent. Ionic compounds like sodium chloride, potassium nitrate, and some polar substances are soluble in water, whereas non-polar substances, okay, like oil, wax kind of substances are insoluble in water. Okay, what is the reason? Let us see. Okay, ionic substances are soluble in water because water is a polar solvent and there is polarity in the molecule. Okay, so there is charge separation, so that what happens, the attractive forces will be developed between ions and the polar molecule. Okay, so these are known as ion dipole interactions. So because of ion dipole interactions, the ionic substances are soluble in water. Okay, here the principle is like dissolves like. So when you put these substance in water, then what happens? The ions will be separated. As we have already discussed, what happens? The ions will be separated like this, and there are attractive forces now developed between the positive ions and the water molecules. Okay, so these are water molecules. Okay, now water molecule contains a negative and positive terminal. Okay, so this is known as dipole. So there are attractions between positive ion and negative terminal of water. Okay, so that is what happens. The water molecules surround the ion like this, forming hydrated ion. Similarly, negative ion is also surrounded by water molecules, and the positive negative terminals are projected like this. Okay, so the positive terminal is oriented in the direction of negative ion. Okay, so that what happens, positive and negative ions are surrounded by water molecules, right? So now the ions are separated by water molecules, and the attractive forces between positive and negative ions are prevented by layer of water molecules around each ion. Okay, so this ion is surrounded by water molecules, and this is also surrounded by water molecules. Now the attractive forces will vanish between the ions. Okay, so that a homogeneous mixture is formed like this, right? So here the ionic substance is dissolved in water due to ion dipole interactions, right? Okay. Even some non-polar substances are also soluble in water. Okay, but that is due to different reason. That is due to the formation of hydrogen bond. Like if you take sugar or glucose, they are also soluble in water. Okay, they are covalent substances, and there is no polarity, but they are soluble in water. That is because of formation of intermolecular hydrogen bonds, right? Okay, so if you take non-polar substances like oil, wax kind of substances, or many other covalent substances, they are insoluble in water, but they are soluble in non-polar solvents like benzene or carbon tetrachloride. Okay, so because there are identical molecules, right? So what kind of attractive forces are present between molecules of non-polar solvent? They are London forces or dispersion forces. Similarly, if you take solute, if it is also a non-polar substance, then what happens? There are also London forces exist between the molecules of the solute. Now, if you dissolve solute in a solvent, what happens? The attractive forces now will be developed between solute and solvent. Okay, so the attractive forces between solute and solvent are similar to the attractive forces between solvent molecules and solute molecules. So that is what happens. A homogeneous mixture is formed, so that that substance is now soluble in the non-polar solvent, right? Okay. Like this, based on nature of solute and solvent, the dissolution process occurs. Ionic compounds differ in their solubility. For example, magnesium sulfate is more soluble when compared to barium sulfate. Okay, magnesium sulfate is more soluble when compared to barium sulfate, despite of the fact that barium sulfate is more ionic. As you know, as we move from top to bottom, the size of cation increases or ionic nature of the compound increases. So this is more ionic, this is less ionic, but this is more soluble in water. So this can be explained on the basis of enthalpy change involved in the formation of a solution. So enthalpy of solution is given by sum of the enthalpy changes in the formation of a solution. Okay, so it is a three-step process. So enthalpy, overall enthalpy is equal to sum of the enthalpy changes involved in the three steps, right? So in the first step, what happens? Solvent molecules are separated, and the enthalpy changes less, and it can be neglected because the attractive forces between solvent molecules are weak or almost negligible. So here the enthalpy changes less, and in the second step, okay, the ions are separated, and the enthalpy change involved here is equal to lattice enthalpy. The energy required to separate 1 mole of crystal into oppositely charged ions is known as lattice enthalpy. Okay, so here we are talking about solubility of ionic compounds in water. So in the second step it involves the separation of oppositely charged ions, right? Okay, so it is equal to lattice enthalpy. Okay, so it is lattice enthalpy. Now in the third step, okay, the attractive forces are developed between oppositely charged ions and water molecules. Okay, so when attractive forces are developed between ions and water molecules, what happens? Energy is released, and that energy change is known as hydration enthalpy, right? So here it is equal to hydration enthalpy. So overall enthalpy change now equal to hydration enthalpy and lattice enthalpy. Okay, so enthalpy of solution is equal to sum of the lattice enthalpy and hydration enthalpy. Lattice enthalpy is positive and hydration enthalpy is negative, right? Now enthalpy change of formation of solution may be positive or negative, right? So if lattice enthalpy is greater than hydration enthalpy, then what happens? Positive is greater than negative value. In that case, overall enthalpy change becomes positive, right? And if lattice enthalpy is less than hydration enthalpy, then what happens? Delta H becomes negative, because negative value is more, positive value is less. In that case, delta H becomes negative, or the formation of solution is exothermic, right? Okay, so as we move from top to bottom, what happens? Hydration enthalpy becomes less negative, because as size of ion increases, what happens? The ability of that ion to attract the water molecules decreases. So hydration enthalpy decreases, and when hydration enthalpy decreases, then what happens? Obviously the lattice enthalpy becomes more than hydration enthalpy, or enthalpy of solution becomes positive, and the solubility decreases. That is the reason why the solubility of barium sulfate decreases, right? Okay, barium sulfate decreases, and it becomes less soluble when compared to magnesium sulfate. Now we'll discuss the effect of temperature on solubility. As we have already discussed, if the formation of solution is endothermic, okay, the solubility increases with temperature, and if it is exothermic process, the solubility decreases with temperature. Or in case of exothermic process, it occurs at low temperature, right? Okay, now let us consider an endothermic reaction, okay, a formation of a solution, okay, is where solute combines with the solvent, okay, so to form a solution. Okay, suppose if you take a saturated solution, there is a equilibrium, right? So there is a dissolution of solute and crystallization of solute from solution, okay, to form undissolved solute, right? So there is an equilibrium between dissolved solute and undissolved solute. Okay, so suppose if there is absorption of energy in the formation of this solution, which is at equilibrium, now what happens as per Le Chatelier principle? Okay, if the system is at equilibrium, then if you raise the temperature, what happens? The equilibrium shifts in the direction of absorption of heat. Okay, so what is the heat absorption direction? That is forward direction. Okay, so in the forward direction is heat is absorbed. So that is why what happens? If you raise the temperature, the reaction takes place in the forward direction, or more amount of solute enters into the solution, right? Okay, suppose if the formation of solution is exothermic, then what happens? Suppose it is also at equilibrium, then what happens? This is negative in the forward direction, and as per Le Chatelier principle, now Okay, if the system is at equilibrium, right, then if you increase the temperature, reaction takes place in the direction of absorption of heat. Heat absorption direction is backward direction, so backward reaction takes place if you raise the temperature. Okay, suppose if you decrease the temperature, then reaction takes place in the direction of release of heat. Okay, so what is the direction? That is forward direction. So this reaction is favored at low temperature. At low temperature, the reaction is favored, or more amount of solute enters into the solution. In the first case, okay, it is favored at high temperature. At high temperature, the forward reaction is favored, or more amount of solute enters into the solution, or solubility of solute increases. For example, if you take solutes like potassium chloride, potassium nitrate, sodium chloride, sodium nitrate, most of the solutes absorb heat in their dissolution process, right? So their solubility will increase, whereas for some solutes like lithium carbonate, okay, so that releases energy, and the other one is Na2CO3 H2O and cerium sulfate. Okay, cerium sulfate, that is another example of formation of solution in which heat is released, right? Okay, so if the formation of solution is endothermic, okay, that is favored at high temperature, or solubility increases with rise in temperature. And if it is exothermic reaction, then the formation of solution is favored at low temperature, or solubility increases with a decrease in temperature, right? So this is the conclusion. Now we'll see the effect of concentration on solubility of a solid in liquid. Okay, so consider a pure solvent, and if you add solute, what happens? It is able to dissolve more amount of solute, and the rate of dissolution is also high, right? Initially the rate of dissolution is high, and as you add more amount of solute, the rate of dissolution decreases, or you can add only little amount of solute. You can dissolve only little amount of solute in that solution. So that means as concentration increases, the solubility decreases. Now we will see the effect of pressure. Okay, so here we are talking about solubility of solid in liquid. Solids are incompressible. The particles are closely packed, and there is no effect of pressure. Okay, so that means here there is no effect of pressure on the solubility of solids in liquids, right? There are other factors influencing the solubility, like if you take finely divided solids, they are more soluble, or rate of dissolution is more. Okay, rather than putting a lump of solid in a solvent, it is better to divide it into smaller particles, because the dissolution process takes place through the surface of the particles. If the surface is more exposed to the solvent molecules, then the rate of dissolution increases. Solubility is also dependent on the other factors, okay, like stirring and formation of complex, right? So if you put a solid in a liquid for a long time, the process of dissolution is usually very slow. Whereas if you put the solid in the same amount of solvent by stirring the solution, then what happens? The rate of dissolution increases. Okay, so if you stir the solution, it is able to dissolve more amount of solute, right? So the solubility is even dependent on stirring. Sometimes the solubility of a substance increases due to the formation of complex. For example, silver chloride is soluble in ammonia due to the formation of a complex with ammonia molecules. Here silver chloride is reacting with ammonium hydroxide or ammonia solution to form this complex, due to which it becomes soluble.